We are the Crystal Gems.
We'll always save the day.
Fast as lightning, sharp as the sword. Greetings, YouTube. I'm Lightning Sword. Judging from the intro, you probably guessed that I will be covering neither Pokemon nor My Little Pony in this video. I only just recently got into it, but even so, after watching the entire series thus far, I can say with the utmost confidence, Steven Universe is the pinnacle of modern children's animation. I've heard many a YouTube reviewer rave about how brilliant and enjoyable this show is. Mr. Enter, Lily Pete, Phantom Strider, even Doug Walker has done reviews on this show. I never did get around to it, as I was usually preoccupied with My Little Pony or Ninja Turtles, but a couple of months ago I did start getting into it, and my only regret is that I didn't start sooner. I have almost no complaints about this show, and everything about it is just incredible. The characters are deep and lovable. The stories are immersive with excellent world building, generally good pacing, and a perfect harmony between character-driven narratives and plot-driven narratives. The music is delightful, the animation is stunning, the action scenes are well crafted and exciting. It's dramatic and emotional without being manipulative. It's hilarious without being stupid. It tackles real-world issues with brilliantly written allegory and metaphors. And it subverts my expectations more than any cartoon show I have ever seen. And in a good way. I don't think there's a single legitimately bad episode of Steven Universe. Not a single one disappoints. That is incredibly rare for a cartoon, especially one that airs with the likes of Teen Titans Go and Uncle Grandpa. Where such genius comes from, I can only hazard a guess, but whatever Rebecca Sugar is doing, she is doing it so right. Anyway, to help explain my points, I'll be going through a list of some of the most notable episodes of the series. Some are my favorites, some are just excellently written episodes, and a very select few are some that I didn't like as much as the others, but can still see the good in them. They won't be in any particular order, as it would take me weeks just to make any semblance of a top 10 list, and even then it would probably be really a top 30 list or something like that. So I'll just go through each high point about the show as a whole, and list some episodes as examples of each point. And as you might expect, there be spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the show, I strongly recommend you do before you see this video. Even if you don't plan on watching my video all the way through, go ahead, watch the show. But I mean it. All of it. Click out of this video, right now. Click out of YouTube, go and find uploads of this show. Watch the whole thing, start to finish. I will wait. Believe me, it is well worth your time. And off we go.
We are the Crystal Gems. We'll always save the day. And if you think we can't, we'll always find a way. That's why the people of this world believe in garnets, amethyst, and pearl, and Steven.
When it comes to characters, I've praised My Little Pony for having depth and dimension in their main cast, as it is indeed a step up from previous iterations of the franchise. But in the character building department, Steven Universe puts MLP to absolute shame. And yes, I will be comparing My Little Pony to Steven Universe frequently, so be prepared for that. Here are a few examples of my point. Steven himself is a quirky, energetic, somewhat naive, but good-hearted young boy who learns from his friends and guardians, godlike alien warriors called the Crystal Gems, every day. Being half-gem, he begins to develop his own unique powers, proving that he can hold his own in their missions to save Earth from danger. He starts as ignorant, innocent, and a bit trouble-prone, but over time his experiences mold him from a goofy kid with nothing to contribute except good humor, to a goofy kid with strength, determination, and heart to go with his good-natured humor. Episodes like So Many Birthdays, Together Breakfast, Cheeseburger Backpack, and Island Adventures show Steven at his best, helping his friends with a firm, steady foot in reality. Whether he's throwing a birthday party for his nigh-immortal guardians, bringing two feuding friends together, or just serving breakfast, Steven tries hard to see the humanity in everyone, especially those who seem to lack it the most. This will come into play especially strongly later on in the show, when he accompanies the Crystal Gems on missions more often, proving that he is growing more as a fighter, as a diplomat, and as a person. Later episodes like Open Book, The Test, Joyride, and Bismuth show Steven's maturity pay off. The Test especially is a case of such maturity, and it's also a case of how the show fakes you out and gives you something completely unlike you would expect. In the episode, Steven's insecurity over his worth to the team pushes him to ask the crystal gems to test him so he can prove himself. The gems comply and set him up in what appears to be their equivalent of the X-Men's Danger Room, with each gem contributing a section to test Steven's agility, endurance, and wits. But when Steven learns that the test room's dangers are holograms that ensure he is never harmed and always succeeds, he's furious and goes to tell off Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl for their deception. But when he overhears them saying that they wanted to use this quote-unquote test to build his confidence up and save his feelings, what does Steven tell them? Nothing. Instead of telling them they were wrong for preserving his feelings, he goes to them pretending to have been well tested in order to save their feelings. It's a wonderful twist that, as far as I can tell, no other kids show has the precision or skill to pull off. My favorite of Steven's episodes would probably be Full Disclosure. After preventing an invasion of Earth by more gems, Steven realizes that his best friend and love interest, Connie, could be badly affected by the life he leads with the gems. This is a commendable, albeit somewhat misguided, move of selflessness on his part. And even though he does so in the wrong way, he tries to do right by his friend, who would at the very least be worried about him, and at most could be caught up in the danger. Great voice acting, emotional scenes, and a nice musical number make this episode a real treasure among treasures. Now on to the other characters. Out of the three main crystal gems, my favorite is Garnet. Her deadpan delivery and stoic humor balance out well with her rare moments of emotion and depth. And her relationship with Steven is the best in the series. A true mother-son relationship between two beings, well, technically three, that aren't even remotely related. She gives him advice and comfort, and he comes to her for strength and guidance. And seeing them interact like a real family is heartwarming every time. Some of Garnet's best episodes include Future Vision, Jailbreak, Keeping It Together, Mindful Education, and The Answer. They all showcase Garnet's compassion, strength, wisdom, and determination, as well as her relationship with Steven. She has more great moments in episodes like Alone Together, Chillitude, Reformed, and Steven Floats. In these episodes, she shows more of her off-the-wall humor and how she gets along well with the other gems. Overall, she's a strong, funny, good-hearted character, and her unspoken position as a leader of the Crystal Gems is well-earned. As for Ruby and Sapphire, I'll save them for another video. For those of you who've seen my MLP reviews in the past and can draw character parallels between that show and this one, you can probably guess who my least favorite of the main gems is. It's Pearl. You thought I was going to say Amethyst, didn't you? Well, admittedly, Amethyst started out as my least favorite. Her egomania and tendency for practical jokes and annoying humor gave me a preliminary impression of her as a chubby purple rainbow dash on two legs. But as I said, this show does character growth in a way MLP can only dream of, and it in no way exemplifies that better than with Amethyst's character arc. Episodes like Tiger Millionaire, Maximum Capacity, Reformed, and Steven vs. Amethyst show that she's more than just a narcissistic prankster. She rebels against the norm as a way to get out from under Pearl and Garnet's often overbearing attitude toward her. She displays a surprising relationship with Steven's father Greg in Maximum Capacity, to the point where I'm beginning to think she may have had feelings for him before Greg started dating Steven's mother. I'm sure fans of the show who were into it long before I was are rolling their eyes and thanking me for joining them.
I don't know about this.
Hey man, it's cool. I've seen your junk before.
And despite Amethyst's self-serving, hedonistic lifestyle, she harbors a great deal of self-image issues, to the point of self-loathing. My favorite Amethyst episode, and one of my favorites overall, is On the Run, where she and Steven decide to run away from home and explore the world together. At first it's just a game, but when Amethyst brings Steven to the place where she was created, things start getting really dark. Pearl's negative feelings toward the kindergarten facility are taken by Amethyst as negative feelings towards its byproducts, including Amethyst herself. The physical and verbal fighting is intense and heart-wrenching, and almost everything I ever thought about Amethyst went straight out the window. This is something the writers of MLP almost never do with characters like Rainbow Dash. Episodes with her in them show only a fraction of what she's truly capable of as a character, and any sense of dimension we get for her is rendered moot almost immediately by the next episode she's in. Amethyst has something that Rainbow Dash is sorely lacking: consistency. When she's confronted with a deep problem about herself, she faces it, triumphs over it, and is better for it. And it shows. in every single episode afterwards. And she does not have to lose her fun-loving personality in the process. This is spectacular character writing, and while Garnet may be my favorite of the main trio, Amethyst has more than enough reason to be the runner-up. Amethyst has more great moments in the late Season 3 arc showcasing the main villain, Jasper, which includes the episodes Gem Hunt, Crack the Whip, Beta, and Earthlings. But again, I'll save that one for later. And finally, of the main trio, there's Pearl. I said she was my least favorite of the Crystal Gems, but only mostly by default, not because she's a bad character. She's fiercely protective of Steven, she's graceful and well-spoken, and she's delightfully awkward in many social situations. But whereas Garnet is unaffected by these situations and Amethyst just rolls with them, Pearl's self-consciousness leads to a lot of funny moments, and her naivete towards human culture is charming and gets quite a few laughs. I don't have a lot of favorite Pearl episodes, but some of my favorites include Giant Woman, Coach Steven, and Back to the Barn. And she has some silly moments in So Many Birthdays, Chili Teed, Historical Friction, Steven vs. Amethyst, and Lion 3 Straight to Video. Despite being the responsible, level-headed gem of the group, or at least trying her damnedest to be, Pearl's uptight, overly orderly behavior comes off as 1 part obnoxious and 3 parts comical. The biggest reason she's not my favorite, however, is her character arc, proving that consistency can be a double-edged sword. Ha! Sword humor. Pearl has shown repeatedly a deep, almost obsessive fixation with Steven's mother, Rose Quartz, the original leader of the Crystal Gems. It's fairly safe to assume that Rose's death, which is really her physical form disappearing in order to create her son Steven, took a heavy toll on Pearl, and episodes like Rose's Scabbard and Sworn to the Sword show that. This fixation often lets her get carried away in her actions and intentions. Of course, she tends to get carried away in her actions and intentions anyway in episodes like Space Race.
I'm so sorry. I almost got us killed.
I'm used to it.
In Rose's Scabbard, Pearl's confidence in herself as Rose's only confidant is shaken when Steven shows he knows more than he should about his mother and what kind of person she was. Things that only Pearl knew about. Or thought she knew. This pushes her to the point of resentment towards Steven, resulting in her lashing out at him, running away from their temple home, and even turning her back on him as he's about to fall to his death, which is completely unlike her. But the episode saves itself by showing just how broken Pearl is over this. So much so that, even after the circumstances, you begin to feel sorry for her. And the episode ends with a great moment of bonding between Steven and Pearl, which is heartwarming to watch. The whole obsession with Rose thing continues in We Need to Talk, a flashback episode detailing Greg's first encounter with Gem Fusion. But again, that's another video. It continues in Sworn to the Sword, where her instructing Connie in swordsmanship leads her to live vicariously through Connie to a degree, to the point where she molds Connie into a mindless knight ready to die for Steven, just as Pearl herself had been willing to die for Rose. The reason these episodes put me off of enjoying Pearl as a character is because this particular aspect of her character, while deep and emotional, has grown a bit tiresome to watch. I can only feel sorry for Pearl for the same exact reason so many times. Fortunately, this arc concludes with another of my personal favorites, Mr. Greg. After coming into some money, Greg celebrates by taking Steven to the big city for a vacation, and Steven suggests Pearl accompany them. While out, Pearl reflects on why Rose fell for Greg, how much she regrets not having her own feelings returned by the woman she loved, and coming to terms with being unable to let go of Rose's death. Unlike Rose's Scabbard, Pearl is shown in a much more positive light here, and the song It's Over, Isn't It? Is a truly heart-rending testament to Pearl's character up until that point. And as is appropriate to Steven, he ends up helping Pearl and Greg reconcile and grow closer. It's truly a beautiful episode, with incredible music and a brilliantly concluded character arc. Why they chose to prolong that arc in Last One Out of Beach City, I can only guess. But at least that episode showed that Pearl has a naughty side. I said that Garnet was my favorite crystal gem, but my favorite gem overall, well... Oh, Lapis-chan. Ah! I'm sorry, baby! Forgive me! All joking aside, I was really invested in the character arc of Lapis Lazuli. Having been through more trauma and danger, at least on screen, than any other character, Lapis struggles every day with her past, whether it be the things she'd done or the things she'd had done to her. Spending millennia trapped in a magic mirror, being captured and interrogated by her own homeworld, forced into a fusion and dragged to the bottom of the ocean, or being ripped apart from her fusion partner, who would then go on to stalk her for a whole season. Through it all, Lapis shows a wealth of strength in coping with the hell she's been put through, in the face of guilt, shame, and what might be interpreted as PTSD. She shows a tough, ambivalent facade and a disinclination to express heavy emotion, but I find it interesting how she only really opens up to Steven at first, being excited to see him every time he visits, and doesn't really care about anyone else unless she spends more time with them. Overall, she's just a great character, and I hope they utilize her more in the series in the future. And of course, being super adorable with killer legs doesn't hurt at all. Ah! Moving on! Beginning with Warp Tour, the show gave us another new gem character, Peridot. At first, her motivations are a mystery, but her presence on Earth eventually culminates into the Season 1 end episodes The Return and Jailbreak, in which she returns from the gem homeworld with reinforcements. After that whole debacle, she is hunted and eventually captured and released by Steven and the Crystal Gems. Thus begins a reformation arc that outdoes anything MLP ever did with their characters. I will never let it go! At first, I despised Peridot with her egomaniacal attitude and her nasal voice and her smug, arrogant, condescending tone and overall obnoxious presence. Yeah, you get the picture. But as I said, Steven Universe subverts expectations and treats its characters right. Peridot is only out for herself at first, choosing to side with the Crystal Gems for only long enough to fight the Cluster, a mutated gem hybrid buried in the crust of the planet. But even after all that, she is still loyal to the one who gave her the mission to check up on the Cluster in the first place, one of the leaders of the gem homeworld, Yellow Diamond. And for a character like Peridot, what's a surefire way to redeem her after all that? To have her spit in the face of authority.
I can tell you with certainty that there are things on this planet worth protecting!
What do you know about the Earth?
Apparently more than you Claude! Peridot, out!
That scene gave me an immense amount of respect for Peridot, and since then she's put a lot of effort into improving herself as a contributing member of the team, and has learned a trick or two over the course of the series. I'll go into more detail about both Lapis and Peridot later, but overall, they are just great characters who deserve a lot more development. Supporting characters are also treated well by this show. Greg Universe, yes, that's his legal name, serves as a great viewer's perspective type character. He's really the only character in the main cast with both feet planted firmly in reality, and most often his experiences are shared with the audience in some way. Aside from his keeping his distance from the dangers the Crystal Gems face and simultaneously wanting to be of service to them, Greg's status as a troubled but well-meaning father is a breath of fresh air from most shows, in which the main character's parents are either complete morons, total assholes, or absent entirely. And Steven's relationship with his dad is really unlike any father-son relationship I've seen on TV. Distant at times, but still loving and pleasant. And it often reminds me of the good times I'd shared with my father.
Oh geez, those feelings are complicated.
I agree, moving on. Connie, another fully human character on the show, also serves as more than just a love interest. Like Greg, Connie is there to provide firm ground in Steven's life. And it's his feelings for her that most often drive him to make the most righteous decisions. And Connie herself goes from being just a side character to being a capable fighter in her own right, with some training from the Crystal Gems. Even the two openings illustrate that clearly. The first one shows her simply standing off to one side looking pretty, while the second shows her running up to catch up with the gang carrying a sword. That's pretty badass. As for Stevani, another video. Even the side characters are entertaining, and when the show takes a break to give them development, I'm almost never left wanting anything. Sadie, Petey, Kiki, Jenny, Buck and Sour Cream, Jamie, Mr. Smiley, Mayor Dewey, and even jerk characters like Lars, Ronaldo, and Onion get a lot of development, and I find that respectable. Usually cartoons or even shows in general will simply throw their side characters to the wayside. Steven Universe treats all of its characters with a degree of dignity, and every character has at least one episode to shine in. Except Kevin. Kevin's an asshole. Well, there you have it, the characters of Steven Universe. and how their amazing personalities, dimensions, interactions, and spirited emotions contribute to an amazing show. And that's just one aspect of it. To do this show justice, I'd have to produce more videos on it, so expect more of me going absolutely gaga over this cartoon. I have yet to talk about the story arcs, the world building, the music, the comedy, the drama, the real world parallels, and a whole bunch of other things that impress me about it. So I'll just cut off this video here before I go completely nuts. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be in an existential reflection over where this show has been all my life. If you like the review, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, support me on Patreon, and I'll catch you later. This is Lightning Sword, and if every pork chop were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs. Thanks for watching.
If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you act, wondering when